Wild card weekend's over and divisional weekend is here. Bucks McGee, we've got some pretty tantalizing matchups this weekend, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, it's like the Elite Eight of the NFL.
Yes.
It's you get to that point now where it's the nitty gritty. Divisional time. Some people thought that some that few of the teams that are here shouldn't be here, but it doesn't matter. If you're doing your top eight, these are the top eight. Take them or leave them.
Would these make your MySpace top eight? Would Tom be kicked out?
Tom, I wonder what Tom's doing now. I miss MySpace. Man,
Just
they should
before it's time.
exactly, man. If it was to come back today, I'd be all over that. Forget Facebook. I'd be all over that.
Well, speaking of teams that you personally probably wouldn't put in your top eight, and those are our first game to talk about. It's the game that everyone probably wants to talk about this week. Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes meet again. This time up at Orchard Park, not in Arrowhead. So I don't know. I guess there was some snow at the front end of this weekend, so we'll see if it lasts around till Sunday. How cold it gonna get? I mean, we always the Chiefs don't necessarily come off like a cold weather team, but they are a cold weather team. It definitely gets
Mm-hmm.
cold. I mean, the Dolphins certainly saw that last week, how cold it could get in Kansas City. So,
Mm-hmm.
is this finally the year that Buffalo can kind of shrug off the kind of bad juju that the Chiefs have given them in the playoffs?
It has to be. If they don't do it this year, then no complaints. No, we're gonna go and complain about the overtime rules and all this mumbo jumbo. You've got the Chiefs where you want them. You want them home. So here they are. So now it's put up or shut up. There's no excuses.
Yeah. So as far as how they're gonna put up or shut up, uh, last week the Bills were a 9.5 point favorite or 9 point favorite against the Steelers, and they're only 2.5 point favorites over the Chiefs. We've been down on the Chiefs this year, so are the Chiefs really 7 points better than the Steelers? At least compared to playing Buffalo.
Defensively, I would say yes. Even if Pittsburgh was at full strength, with TJ Watt, I still think as a unit, the Chiefs are a better defensive team. But it's also the Patrick Mahomes effect. He's going to get the benefit of a doubt. So everyone just assumes that, when the offense is bailing, just not clicking well, that he's going to, figure something out and they're going to eke it out. So, yeah, I guess they've earned it.
Now is you've been a bit high on. I know you. It's probably hurt your soul a little bit to do so, but you've been high on the Bills' defense of late, and Rashi Rice has been Patrick has really showed out in the wild card round against the Dolphins, and he was kind of getting into a go-to role for Patrick, especially
Mm-hmm.
with Kelsey kind of taking a dip in the second half. Maybe singing too many Taylor Swift songs in the locker room. And he had a game last week where, by anyone else's standards, any other tight end standards, it would have been a good game. By Travis Kelsey's standards, pretty pedestrian. So, what kind of Bills defense are we going to see to neutralize Kelsey, Rasheed Rice, and I mean the rest of the replacement theory receivers that they have?
Well, here's the situation. Buffalo, for as great as their defense has been, is really beat up, especially in the linebacker area. And those are the guys who are primarily going to be handling Travis Kelsey. So it could be a situation where they say, "All right, we're going to trust that our secondary can handle Rice. Let's see if Travis alone can kill us." Because let's be honest, Travis hasn't been himself this year. It hasn't been the usual Travis Kelsey, year that we're accustomed to. So it'll be interesting how Buffalo plays it. Like I said, they do have some injuries, and a lot of those injuries are guys that would handle Kelsey. So I think it might be a situation where Kelsey will get a lot of one-on-one. It's just whether these backers can handle it. It may be let Travis get what he gets, but let's shut everything else down and see what happens. But I think the key to the whole thing is you got to stop Pachenko. I think you have to stop the run game and you have to force Kansas City to be one dimensional and throw the ball. And I think if you do that, that's your best chance to beat them because these guys outside of Rice can't catch a cold consistently.
It's funny. It's funny you say that because historically, when you say make the Chiefs throw, people are starting to put the pants a little bit.
Exactly, but we look at what they've done this year. So it's a decent offense when they throw, but you got guys who will drop the ball. You don't even know if Kadarius Toney's going to even play. He might be another healthy scratch again. So you don't even know what you're going to get in the pass game. So Pachenko really makes that offense go. I really believe he does. So I think you stop him and you force Patrick to go to other guys. If you can stop Pachenko and live with Kelsey getting some touches, shut down Rice, make them move at a snail's pace, you got a shot to beat them.
Who's more the liability, Kadarius Toney or Marcus Valdez-Scantling?
Wow. Wow. I think it's a toss up because both of them in the wide open can't catch anything. Let's be realistic. If you send Scantling down the field, straight down the middle, he gets a step or two on somebody, can't catch the ball. Toney will run some funky route, ball in his hand, can't catch the thing. So it's a coin flip.
Now flipping to the other side, Kansas City's defense. So this is a stout unit. It's probably been the reason they've gotten as far as they have with the inconsistencies of their offense. So how can they slow down Buffalo? Because Josh Allen had Superman performance last week.
I think Buffalo's going to need another Josh Allen Superman type performance. I don't trust James Cook 100%. Now if Cook starts off early and by halftime has 65 70 yards rushing, then it's like okay, then the run game is in full effect and there you go. You got to get the ball to the receivers. It just seems like the receivers have been no-shows. Diggs has, been almost an afterthought. I don't know. I think Gabe Davis should be good to go this game. He's a quality receiver. You got to get to him. You've got a couple of other guys, you can throw to, but you've got to use everybody. And if that means, you got to let Josh run, then let Josh run. You might have to go back to the Ken Dorsey offense.
Oh.
That was a problem. But in this situation, Josh is probably going to get flushed out and have to make plays with his legs. He's going to have to. So
he did bust off a 50-yard touchdown against the Steelers. So
yeah, I think Kansas City's defense is a little better in that. I don't know if he'll bust out another 50, but if he's getting 8-9 yard runs, softens that up, he should be able to take a chance down the field. But you also got to get the tight ends involved. They have the weapons. It's just whether Josh can make the throws, because we know there are times when he'll throw picks or fumble the ball. It needs to be a Josh Allen game where he doesn't get stupid with the football.
Is the weather kind of just a net neutral in this because they're both cold weather teams, or is there a necessary advantage or disadvantage to one team or the other?
Yeah, I don't think the weather plays any kind of advantage to either team. They play in the cold. Now, if you're telling me all of a sudden it's going to start snowing and it's going to be wet and nasty, then you could sit there and say Buffalo might have the advantage because I feel they may be better equipped to handle that weather than Kansas City. Because Kansas City, they're pass first, kind of deal. The guys can't catch the ball. That could be an issue. I feel that Buffalo's probably a better cold weather, snowy team. But if there's no precipitation going on, then I think it's a coin flip.
You could look at let's say it does snow or start to cut down heavy. Obviously, when games snow, you tend to see more running the ball, and
Mm-hmm.
that's Pacheco, which we're both, as long as he's healthy, we're both big on. James Cook, which we're not big on, despite that game against the Cowboys that came out of nowhere.
He's a Pro Bowler. Give him his respect.
For some respect on his name. And then, of course, you have the quarterbacks who, Patrick runs and, Romo loses his mind every time he does. But obviously, I would still say Allen's probably the better rushing, scrambling quarterback between the two of them.
Oh, for sure.
Like, where does the edge in the running game fall in the event of snow or messy conditions between quarterback and running back combination? Like, does Josh Allen kind of cancel out where Pacheco's probably a better running back than Cook?
Pacheco is the better running back of the two. He runs angry, but that also might work against him. If it's ground slippery and nasty, I know he likes to put his foot down, head down, and just run angry, but certain times you can't do that. He may end up slipping, losing a fumble, because they're going for the ball.
Yeah.
But, it's one of those things where I think it probably favors Buffalo slightly because Josh is a better runner than Mahomes. Mahomes will run when he absolutely has to, and he's able to find that first down marker and such. I think at this point, Buffalo will probably, if they know he's going to bust out of the pocket, try to funnel him and keep him in the middle of the field. You got to try to do that. But Josh, I think, is just a better natural runner, so he'll be able to handle it better.
Yeah. We'll switch gears to the primetime Saturday night fiesta, and that is the Packers coming off of that absolute drubbing over the Cowboys. Didn't even show up. They go into another highly favored NFC team. That's the San Francisco 49ers. They're coming off their bye as the top-seeded club. And the Niners getting a lot of respect in this. They're giving 9.5 points to Green Bay. And is this a reality check for the Packers? Or should the Niners kind of not take this so lightly?
No, the Niners should totally heed this. I think the Niners should win this game, but the Niners need to come prepared. I think the Niners are a better team than the Cowboys anyways. I think they'll be ready to go. I think in watching that game, it probably got the Niners thinking, hey, we got to be smart. We know that this is a young, talented team, and we got to just make sure as long as they perform that they should be able to pull this game out. I don't think, Green Bay is going to go away lightly, but I think the Niners, if they score early, can control the tempo.
Mm-hmm.
But, yeah, I'm sure the Niners aren't going to take the Packers lightly at all.
How much of a different matchup is it for Jordan Love against, the Cowboys defense, which was very porous against the run, and a passing defensive secondary that took a lot of chances, gave up big plays, versus this Niners defense, which is a lot more complete. Maybe they're not completely elite in years past in the secondary, but they're certainly a little bit more stout and disciplined than the Cowboys. And then up front, they're just ridiculous with both.
Yeah,
and
that's what it's going to be. It's going to be up front. If the Packers can somehow contain the front and give Love time to throw the ball, the Packers could make it interesting. The Packers have young receivers. Those guys, that Packers team, they know they're playing with house money, so they're not going in with any expectation. Let's be honest. They're just going to go, and they're saying, why not us? The Niners are going to have to get that pass rush going because that's what really generates that defense, that crazy rush with up front. So if the Packers, end up, kind of keeping them at bay, they got a shot. But yeah, stopping Bosa and those boys, it's a tall task.
The other side, the other side of the defensive coin is something that I think could play a factor in whether or not this is a blowout or it stays tight, and that's the Packers defense. They're very, very young unit. They've played almost increasingly better throughout the course of the season, and they made Dak look. I mean, Dak put up a ton of yards and touchdowns in garbage time, but throughout the course of the game that actually mattered, they made Dak look silly. Um, so now they get Brock Purdy, who was an MVP favorite going into that Ravens game on Christmas night, and he kind of got his wheels back under him a little bit in the last couple of games, but the last couple of weeks didn't so much matter to them, and they and he kind of didn't reclaim that like elite level. He just kind of turned into steady, reliable old Brock Purdy.
Mm-hmm.
So is this young, energized Packers defense going to cause headaches for the young Niners quarterback?
Well, I don't think the Niners need Brock to be anything spectacular. I think he just needs to be smart with the ball. Now, let's be honest. The Niners defense faced Tony Pollard first, and now they're facing CMC. It's a totally different animal.
I know Tony Pollard, your favorite.
Yeah, because he's unbelievable. So this Niners offense is a totally dynamic machine. Let's be honest. CMC either running the ball or receiving the ball, just is going to force that defense, to really pay attention. They're going to probably try to bait, Brock into some bad throws, but with the weapons that the Niners have, I don't know. I don't know if they're young enough, even though they're young, talented, I don't know if they can do that. They're probably going to try to put them in some situations where, you're going to force Brock to make a throw. But generally, he's been okay. He's been able to make that proper read and, do what he's got to do. Now, I just don't know if for a full game, if the Packers defense can bait him into enough mistakes like they did Dak, to force the game like that. I think if they can keep this game in the low 20s, they've got a shot. I think they may have a shot. But if, the Niners by halftime are up by like 3 scores, I don't see this happening. I can't see it going any other way.
Yeah. And it's funny, like judging the weapons 1-to-1. I mean, obviously the Cowboys are severely lacking in the running game, and the Niners have maybe the best back in the league. But receivers wise, the Cowboys had CeeDee Lamb, who's all pro. They had Gallup and Cooks, who may not be great, but they're both legitimate home run threats. Ferguson turned into a very, very solid, more than solid tight end this year. And the Niners had Deebo Samuel, aside from McCaffrey, have Deebo Samuel, who's a Swiss Army knife, can torch you out of the backfield, can torch you as a receiver. They have Ayuk, who's really turned into a legitimate number 1 receiver this season. And if Kittle actually shows up, he can easily be one of the best tight ends in the league. So, I mean, how do we gauge the weapons that they just faced versus the weapons they're facing this week? And how is San Francisco going to spread the love around? Not to sound too punny.
The Niners' weapons are better than the Cowboys' weapons. Let's just be honest. You can put it all up on the board. From top to bottom, the Niners have better weapons. Now, Green Bay is going to have to they're going to have to figure out how do they want this to go. Do you want to put the ball in Brock's hands and say, okay, let him beat us? Or you try to take away all those weapons, and CMC goes off for like 140 yards, 3 touchdowns, and at that point you're like, yeah, this is a lost cause. It's whatever the Packers feel they're better at. And probably receiver-wise, I think their secondary is solid. So they could hang with the Niners, wide receivers. They got to play smart, not take too many chances. Like when you see your shot, you take it. But if they try to overplay some things, then those guys are going to torch them. So that might be the way to go.
Put on your mathematician hat. Imagine a pie chart and divide it up versus how much of a percentage of the Niners offense goes to McCaffrey, goes to Deebo, goes to Ayuk, goes to Kittle. What do you kind of foresee as the lion's share of touches for the Niners to have a successful game?
I think what's going to have to happen is CMC's going to he's going to have to be involved in the pass game. because I think at that point, once he's involved in the pass game, I don't know if the Packers have enough defense to handle that. Like they didn't have to worry about that with Pollard. Pollard, ran for like 2 yards, stumbled, and then that was like the end of it. He had like some garbage runs at the end, but let's be honest, Pollard was a non-factor in that game. Now you're coming to San Fran, and like you said, probably the best back in the league, who can also be thrown in the slot and can be a terror in the passing game. So that I think he's the key. You stop him, you might have a shot. Like I said, you're gonna have to play your best football. And with all the weapons, I don't know if the Packers can really match up with that part of the Niners offense.
Well, if there was one, I guess the easiest is McCaffrey, but like who is the most dangerous one to blow the game open that the Packers need to like almost double on every play? The Packers need to. Did I say that? Packers need to double on every play.
Here's the thing: the easy answers are CMC and Debo, but if they don't pay attention, Ayuk can torch him. Like you said, he's certified number one. If they don't pay attention to Ayuk could torch him for a couple of touchdowns, and then at that point, everything just floods. At that point, Kittle's going to start catching some stuff. CMC will start doing his thing. Like you have all these weapons. Like we've point blank, they have too many weapons. It's how the Packers bracket them and keep them from the explosive plays. If they can keep it to a slow crawl, they've got a shot. But if the Niners start off quick and they're up by 3 scores by halftime, I don't think they can bounce back. I don't think they can hold them.
Yeah. Let's take a quick break from the games talk and talk some coaching news.
Coaching news.
Yes. Into your office with the coffee. Now the Raiders made a decision that I think is probably the right decision and the one that's going to be very popular with their players. Antonio Pierce is retained. Yeah, they removed the interim tag, and good job by Antonio. I'll clap it up for Antonio Pierce.
Okay, I'll give it to you. Okay.
Yeah, because
he's the cool substitute teacher.
Yes. Because this was a team that was absolutely miserable, and Josh McGee was ruining, and Pierce got him back in playoff contention, and that's after they completely gave up on Jimmy G, and went with a rookie that was a no-name, and with Josh Jacobs kind of being a sourpuss towards the end, probably solidified his exit out of town in the offseason. So, I think that this was the right decision. I think Vegas will probably be in a better off for it, and maybe even in a better position this time next year.
All right. Or was it the fact that the 2 top available coaches, or we'll say 3, in Belichick, Vrabel, and Harbaugh, probably weren't even sniffing the Raiders? So let's be honest. Let's be honest. Now,
well, we'll get to Belichick in a minute, but the team he's talking to, I don't necessarily know if that's necessarily a better situation than the Raiders.
Weapons-wise, I would say offensively, because like you said, Josh Jacobs is probably gone. Would you rather have, Josh Jacobs or Bijan?
Yeah.
So let's be honest. Maybe the Raiders felt they had no shot at either of those 3 coaches, so they said, you know what? Pierce, did his thing, got us back into the playoffs. Everybody likes them. They get to play their music. They get to have fun, They get to chew gum in class. So let's hire him because we don't want to make the mistake. Exactly. He's like, all right, guys, just be cool. Don't do anything. Like I said, he's the cool substitute. And that's great. Hey, and that might work for that talent that they have there. For that collection of players, maybe that works. But he is going to have to come out strong, and there'll be a point where he's going to be tested, and he's going to have to lay down the law and be the bad cop. And hopefully these players will understand that and say, you know what, we respect it. Because it was all fun and good times, and they're all like, yeah, Pierce is the guy. Now you've got a question of, is this rookie quarterback your guy? Is he? There's still the whispers about Devontae Adams. Do they say, okay, you know what? For what we want to do, maybe we need to let him go, because if Josh Jacobs is gone, your run game's vanished.
Jesus White played well down the stretch.
Let's be okay. So there's questions about this team, offensively. Defensively, yeah, they can definitely get better, but they've got pieces there. So yeah, this is probably the safest and the best move, but they're gonna have to make sure that they ball out to make sure that Pierce keeps his job, because if it ends up falling apart quickly, people are gonna say, "Oh well, bad move."
So you think more just lack of options versus them actually making a strong hire?
I think, honestly, if one of the, and we'll call them the big three, those three coaches, I think, are the three best that are out there right now. Right? I don't think, anyone could say otherwise. I think if two out of those three had expressed some heavy interest about maybe going to the Raiders, this probably would have went a little longer. Not saying that they wouldn't have taken Pierce, but I think they would have strongly considered one of those other guys. But, they made that mistake before by not keeping the guy, and, it backfired on them.
Yeah.
So, good luck to Pierce. I hope it works out, but they got to be cautious because they have a lot of questions on that team.
Yeah, well, let's talk about those other guys. Bill Belichick had a second interview with the Falcons this week, and does the hoodie just want a challenge? This team couldn't decide on a quarterback last year. Their old coach had an all-world rookie running back and didn't know if he wanted to play him. And we all know running backs in Belichick's system in the past don't always get the carries they necessarily deserve.
Not everyone can be Jonah Gray, man. Not everyone can be Jonah Gray. Put some respect. All right.
The ultimate one-hit wonder in the NFL.
4 tutties. That man had 4 tutties in a game. Give that man respect. Now he's probably hawking like cow feed somewhere, but living the life. But hey, you know what? Whatever. I give the man respect. Here's the deal. Everyone kind of thought that the Cowboys were in play. Everyone's like, okay, well, you know what? Maybe Jerry's desperate enough to say, you know what? I'll bring in somebody hard-nosed like, Jimmy Johnson was back in the day. Here we go. Let's get it done. But the Cowboys decide, no, we're going to keep Mike McCarthy. Yep, we're going to see how that turns out. We all know what it's going to do. But, we'll let that happen. So now there's whispers in, Philly where, ownership may say, you know what, Sirianni's not the guy. This whole implosion, something's wrong. There's something going on there. We need somebody a little stringent, a little hard-nosed, a little, turn this defense around. You already got Matt Patricia there. Why not bring the hoodie in? All of a sudden, Matt Patricia's stock rises because all of a sudden he's going to coach well for Belichick, and Belichick leads them to greatness.
All of a sudden, Matt Patricia's calling offensive plays again.
Well, I think at that point, Bill would say, I don't want to touch the offense. Don't let that man touch it. Let's get somebody.
Yeah.
But
I would hope.
I think Philly will end up staying with Sirianni, but it's going to be a real short leash. And if they end up tanking bad, he'll be gone. So, all right. I think maybe Bill looks at the Falcons as it can rejuvenate my career. I can be hip with the kids. I'm not this old groggy dude who only coaches one way. But here we go. The question's going to be, how does this happen? What happens? Does he have his hand in the defense altogether? Does he bring in 2 new, coordinators? Is he going to be hands off on the quarterback because they need a quarterback? Let's be honest. The Ritter experiment is it's not good. It's not happening. So first you need to solve the quarterback issue. Once you figure that out, there's pieces there. Offensively, they've got the weapons. Defensively, there's some places they can improve on. So I think Bill wants to show that he can be relevant in this new NFL, because this is what it is. It's a new NFL, and here's his chance.
Yeah, and real quick before we move on, I mean, uh, talk about quarterback proving grounds. Why take this job over the Chargers job when you have an established All Pro level type of quarterback out there?
Well, here's the thing: they got cap issues. They're gonna have to get rid. They got cap issues, and a lot of that cap is on the defense. So I'm assuming that they're gonna get rid of some guys. And he's Bill doesn't strike me as a West Coast guy. He really doesn't. So I think even though it's South, it's still East Coast. I think it's his thing. Um, so I I think the Falcons are probably where he's going to end up. Now things can change. It's the NFL. I don't know, but I don't know. I guess I'd like to see him go to Philly. I'd like to see him kind of clean that up and kind of stick it to the Cowboys, because he's probably saying, well, the Cowboys should have took me, this, that, and the other thing. I'd like to see him back in the NFC East, but I think right now Falcons are the lead.
You can't imagine Bill Belichick in a Hawaiian shirt and khaki shorts, can you?
With some sandals,
Yeah.
still rocking a hoodie. Yeah, just it's awkward. It's awkward.
What's not awkward is the way CJ Stroud has played towards the end of the season and in his first career playoff game. Um, Now they go into Baltimore, their second straight AFC North opponent in these playoff picture, and they kick off the weekend yet again. The first game this weekend, Saturday afternoon, early evening, and the Ravens have we finally have some injuries to talk. The Texans are down Jerry Hughes, that miserable POS that he is, and the Ravens are down Marlon.
What did the man do to you? What did the man do to you, bro?
He was a waste of a Colts draft pick. That's what he was.
It's always about the Colts. Always about the Colts.
At least it's not Rocky Sin. Anyway.
Rocky said, woo woo.
Then the Ravens are down Marlon Humphrey, who, if I'm not mistaken, is a starting cornerback. So, obviously, right away, that could be an issue because Nico Collins has been a hot target of late, as my Colts can attest personally. But so, what are the odds that CJ Stroud can continue the magic that he had against the Browns and towards the end of the season versus this Ravens team, which is loaded for a playoff run, but might have a little bit of rust factor? They took off the last week of the season. They had the bye. Lamar's likely the MVP candidate. So, something's got to give in this game.
I give them their shot. You saw what they did to Cleveland, and Cleveland for most people was the consensus best defense in the league. Let's be honest now. The Ravens, their linebackers are incredible. Roquan Smith and those guys are really good. But like you said, there's some rust. We don't know what we're gonna get. The Texans are playing with house money, as with pretty much all the underdogs this week, and they don't care. They've shown that they don't care, and they feel they can play with anybody. And this game is going to be quite entertaining. If you were to tell me that the Texans pull this off and win, I'm not surprised. I honestly believe that this team is that good. I think if the Ravens come out slow and just can't get it together, and the Texans can score, because the Texans defense has stepped up. They have stepped up. They've played well in these playoffs, so they've got a chance.
Yeah, the Texans not getting any respect in this one. Ravens are a 9.5 point favorite. One might think that's a gimme. Even if the Ravens win, you figure it'd be close. But that's usually how betting goes. It's a trap, and Ravens wind up winning by a lot. Do you think this is a little bit of a lack of respect for the Texans to give Baltimore that big point spread?
I can see why they gave them the point spread. I get it. The Texans are basically, they're a young team. it's like the Cinderella story. Sooner or later, it has to end. It didn't end against Cleveland. So, and the way that this team is constructed, I think it's going to be closer than that. I, I I still would give the edge to Baltimore, but like I said, if you told me that the Texans were able to cause a late fumble or something like that and pull this out at the end, I'd believe it. I think people really need to give the Texans their due, and it probably should have been 7,
Mhm.
but the Texans are out to prove people wrong. So if they do it again, at that point, move your money where it counts, and that's Houston.
Yeah. Now last the last few weeks, I don't want to take away anything from the Texans defense. They are very scary. They're young, like you said. They got the chip on their shoulder as far as playing with house money. They're not a unit, and they've bought into D'Amico Ryan's system from the jump. So
Mm-hmm.
not a unit to be taken lightly at all. However, to play devil's advocate,
Mm-hmm.
in the last several weeks, they played Joe Flacco twice, and they embarrassed him in the playoff game. They played Uncle Rico. They played Will Levis, who is a very good rookie, but a rookie nonetheless. Um, so the quarterback wise, they haven't exactly gotten a stiff test of competition, and now they get the MVP. So I mean, what are their chances to neutralize Lamar, and two, what would their game plan be as far as neutralizing Lamar?
Well, like I always say, unfortunately, you can't pick who you play. That's how it is. Now, Flacco wasn't bad until that game. Like, let's be honest, Flacco was the darling of the NFL before those games, and then he just fell off the cliff, and there it goes. Um, I think the Texans are young and fast enough where they'll probably try to contain Lamar, and I think Lamar can throw the ball, but I think you force him to stay primarily in the pocket and have him throw. And I think they have the secondary to go well to play well up against the Ravens wide receivers. Now there's no Mark Andrews. The run game I think is going to be challenged as well. So I think it's a good matchup. But I think you force Lamar to stay in the pocket and you force him to throw.
Now,
Now he may get out because Lamar can escape, but I also think that the Texans have speed on that defense and can match up well.
do you think they want to bring extra defenders down to keep him from busting off a long run? Because in theory, this is a good defense, and like you alluded to, no Mark Andrews. Isaiah Likely has been very good, but he's at his peak is probably still not Mark Andrews at his peak, and they're
Mhm.
receiving. The running backs were banged up. Uh, the receivers, Beckham's wasn't what they thought they were getting. Zay Flowers has been wonderful, but your number one receiver doesn't even crack 800 yards. That's a
Yeah.
far cry from a Brandon Ayuk or even a Rashi Rice. uh, so look,
No, exactly.
do can, does the Texans defense have a bit of a benefit of the doubt to bring some extra defenders down to contain Lamar and kind of just play the weapon straight up?
They could if they have to. I think they're strong enough defensively where if they feel all right, the game is at a point where it's like, all right, let's make sure we're keeping an eye on Lamar. Lamar may try to do something. So yeah, no, they could. I believe they're strong enough where they could probably put an extra guy or two in the box. But I think it's also gonna depend on just how the flow of the game is. If all of a sudden if Houston gets up quickly, and then the Ravens get a little nervous and try to quick score, that's where the mistakes happen. So I think what Houston will do is they'll just play the pace of the game and see what happens. But if Lamar starts moving around a bit and they're scared that he's going to escape, then yeah, they'll bring somebody in the box, and I think they can handle it.
Likewise, what's the flip side of this with C.J. Stroud versus the Ravens? Even the Ravens defense has kind of we didn't think too highly of them going into the season, other than just reputation. but they did get very, very good by the end of it. Jadeveon Clowney had a bit of a rebirth. Um, Obviously, Humphrey is not going to play in this one, but you're talking about a Houston offense which has been a bit of a surprise. I mean, the Stroud part, he's been everything to sing the praises up, but the running game is just Devin Singletary, who's a career backup more or less. Nico Collins has been a very good rookie, but past him, they've had injuries, and the wide receiver gang isn't quite the up to the level of Nico Collins.
I think the key is knowing where Collins is at all times, because if he breaks away, it's a wrap. Because it's CJ will find him and get him the ball. CJ's playing like a 6 or 7 year vet. Let's be honest, he's not playing like a rookie at all. Tight end has been solid for them. Schultz has played well. Tight end's been great. So I think it's a situation what the Ravens have to do is they've got to get pressure. Now, CJ has shown he can handle pressure, but I think you got to keep it coming in waves. You got to get him uncomfortable off his spot. And yeah, make him one-dimensional. Singletary's had a solid year, probably better than most expected. But yeah, you've got to probably eliminate the run, and then just force CJ into some bad decisions. Change up some looks, make it uncomfortable.
Well, Bucs McGee, I made you wait till the end of the show. I apologize for that, but now we can finally talk your Bucs.
Oh, no. It's the best for last. We know this. Save the best for last.
The strength of their team, I know you're going to tell me I'm wrong and scream Baker Bay at the top of your lungs.
No, I'm not. I know where the strength is. I know where the strength is. It's the kicking game.
Oh, yes, Chase McLaughlin.
Don't knock that boy. That boy is pretty. No.
In the arms of an angel.
If you're talking the last 3 to 4 weeks, yes, I would like to say it's Chase, but it's not. It's the defense.
Yeah.
No, it has been.
Yeah, and that's been a real high mark of them, and now they get a really very, very balanced Detroit offense with Gibbs and Montgomery in the backfield. No Raymond again, but Amon-Ra St. Brown had a huge game against the Rams. Jameson Williams decides to show up. He's an explosive target. Laporta's been a godsend as a rookie for that franchise. And Goff is a veteran guy. He can get the ball around. So what kind of a test? I mean, we talked about it a little bit last week, but we can get more in depth now. What kind of a test is that for the Bucs defense?
Well, it's basically, for us, it's stop the run game, and there's going to be blitzing. Let's be honest. We're going to go with what got us to the dance. Goff isn't that great when blitz. He can throw some ducks. If he gets that pressure on him, he can get a little nerved, and where he's going. I think the Bucs do match up well when it comes to the receivers. The secondary has gotten a lot better than in that first meeting. So I think that's going to be key. I think the backers are going to be on Laporta for sure. I think you'll probably get a lot of Devin White on him, maybe a little, Levante David, but I think you're going to get a heavy dose of, blitz up the middle, and it's going to be, this is what it is, and we know, the place is going to be electric, first time they've ever had 2 straight, home playoff games, get all that, and everyone's on the high of, this is Cleveland, this is obviously Detroit, this is destiny, this is all, and I get all that, but at the same time, you can't forget that, Tampa has guys on this team that have won a Super Bowl, and not too long ago either. So they've been in these situations. I think the key to it is just getting to Goff. If they can knock him down, get him uneasy, he's going to throw a couple lame ducks. And especially with Winfield, patrolling the secondary, it just takes one turnover, one pick six, and this game could be a whole lot different than people think. So I'm excited to see what happens. But yeah, don't sleep on the Baker man. You know, I'm, you know what? And I'm going to say this: even if this is his only year in Tampa, the man is my man for life. The man has shown guts and heart. I think White may have a big game at the, may not even be running and may be receiving. Let's not forget, Detroit secondary isn't exactly, an elite secondary either. So I think it's going to be interesting. It's going to be a chess match. It's going to be the blitz versus the blitz pickup, and it's going to be a fun game to watch.
Well, speaking of the blitz, you were a little like, oh my gosh, it can actually work last week. Towards the end of that game, are you kind of back in Todd Bowles' camp as far as trusting the system he's implemented, or because at one point not that long ago you were ready to run that man out of town?
I was because the problem, and it just seems that sometimes, and I get it, you hang your hat on what you know, and he's a quality defensive coordinator. I'll give him that. But I think there are times where maybe the blitz isn't necessarily the best move. But and I know the Eagles have not been at their best, yeah, and such. But it's the Eagles still had enough weapons, and the the blitz worked wonders. I will give them credit, and especially up against that offensive line. Philly had a healthy offensive line. It wasn't like it was just Kelsey and a bunch of scrubs. That offensive line is by many considered the best in the league. Now, Detroit has a quality, maybe number two, maybe number three. At this point, Tampa probably doesn't fear them because they're like, hey, look what we did against Philly. Why can't we do it against Detroit? I think when he picks the right spots to blitz, then it works. But if you're just sending people all the time and just weirdness and like all willy nilly, then that's when I get a little irritated. That's when I'm like, it's a mess. But the secondary of Tampa has gotten a lot better, a lot older. Some guys have had to play sooner than expected and have grown. So, if Todd does it and gets blown off, some bad coverage and, Goff hits an 80-yard bomb, then at that point, we need to kind of reconsider the blitz mid-game. But you got to go with what got you there. At this point, you're in the Elite Eight. Do what you do.
Had this team not had so many holdovers from the Super Bowl team, would you have some nervous about playing on the road because that Detroit crowd is going to be very raucous and very amped up coming off their first playoff win in a long, long time?
Oh no, of course. Yeah, of course. I think when you have guys who have been through the battles, especially guys who have played with oh wait a minute.
Ding.
Ding, and have won a title, I think they kind of understand, you're going into a hostile environment. You got to play within yourselves. They've got that mentality. They're a little, it's the maturity. So I think it definitely helps, especially with the young guys on that defense.
Wait, sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
No, I was finish your point because I was going to bring up another question.
But I think the bigger question is going to be the offensive line. That's the key because Hutchinson's been playing hell of ball. You got to give the guy credit. He's been incredible for that Detroit defensive line. So it's going to be the key. I honestly believe is as long as the line can give Baker some time and can open up some holes, I think this game is going to be something interesting.
Yeah, to that point, we got to be fair and cover the other side. So, what are some exploitations that the Lions can find in order for them to have a good performance and advance the championship Sunday?
The Lions have to consist. They've got gold at the running back position, and I think they need to use it consistently. That needs to be key. You need to change up some looks and use both those guys. To me, it just seems like that they'll go with one guy and that they'll go, one way, and then the other guy, kind of disappears for a bit, and then they try to bring him back, and it just. I'd like to see both backs used consistently because I think they have that capability.
They're both very good.
Yeah, exactly. They both can start for pretty much anyone in the league. But I also think that the key is going to be their offensive line. and keeping, Goff upright and giving him the time to throw. Because when he gets blitzed, especially this year, if you look at his numbers against the blitz, his numbers aren't good. So they got to keep him upright and give him the time to throw. So, it's going to be interesting, and they're going to definitely need a second receiver to really show up a little more, because St. Brown's going to get covered, and Laporta's going to get blanketed. So who's going to be that other receiver that may have to be the X factor?
A little shot of Jameson.
Oh, James.
Yeah, just don't bet on any games before the kickoff. Speaking of betting, Lions are 6-point favorite in this. Do you feel disrespected, or do you think that's right on?
No, I'm fine with it. Because the Lions, they're on this roll. 6 seems fair. I'll give them 6. They beat us early in the season. They've been one of the better teams in the NFC. I give them credit. So no, the 6 is fine. Baker can score. One more point needed. That's all. Like I said, you just need 1 point. 1 more point better.
Yes. And based on what the defense showed against the Rams, it's possible Baker could get some looks against the secondary.
Exactly. They gave up almost 200 yards to Puka.
Mm-hmm.
And I think if the Rams had changed up their thought process going into the red zone those couple times, instead of just going to Cooper Kupp, we'd be talking about the Rams. So I think the tight ends for Tampa are going to be key, especially in the red zone. And it's like I said, their secondary is rough. It's not exactly some elite secondary, So if Mike Evans can actually catch a couple balls, not let some stuff fall through his fingers.
Oh, some heat at Mike Evans.
I will throw heat at Mike Evans all day. I love the man. I love Mike. My wife will come in here and yell at you about Mike Evans. We love him, but when Mike is on, there's no doubt he's in my opinion, a top 3 receiver in this league. But there are times when the ball hits his hands and he drops it. It's like, what's going on? But you also had other receivers really show out. David Moore could be an X factor. Chris Godwin, Trey Palmer, they're guys on there. There's speed on this Tampa wide receiver core. I don't know if Detroit can handle it. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens with this game.
Happy wife, happy life. Giving the missus a shout out on
you. Yeah, man. She likes Mike. She's all right. Keep her around.
Let's wrap up the show with some picks. So what do you got? Chiefs, Bills.
Oh man, it's like picking. It's like a kid who hates squash and spinach, and you have to pick a vegetable to eat with dinner. Like, you don't like either or, but you've got to pick one. This pains me to say. Let's go Buffalo.
Oh my goodness.
I want to see the Chiefs dynasty implode. I'm tired of seeing Taylor Swift. I'm tired of it all. And if Buffalo doesn't get it done next year, oh my goodness, you guys get ready. You guys are going to hear nothing but bitterness. So this is Buffalo's chance for me to put respect on the name. I'm taking Buffalo.
Let's see. Saturday night, Packers, Niners. What you got and by how many?
Oh man, by how many? So you're already thinking that the Niners are putting up like 20 points on them. You're calling this a hot mess. I heard that.
Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if this was close.
I've grown a little slight fondness for this young Packers team. Maybe because they took the Cowboys to the woodshed, and anytime a Cowboys team gets whooped, America loves life. I think the Niners win this game. I hope that the Packers can keep it close, but I'm thinking it's a double digit win.
Yeah, I would probably tend to agree. Texans, Ravens.
Oh boy. Wow.
Oh,
I'm so close.
you want to do
I
it.
want to do it. I want to do it so bad, but I think we're gonna have a Justin Tucker sighting.
Okay.
So I think Baltimore ekes it out. I think I think they eke it out by 3, but I think the country and the NFL has put on notice that the Texans are the real deal going into next season. But I just think something happens and Baltimore pulls it out.
Yeah, I think I tend to think it's kind of Lamar's time right
Yeah.
now. There's my kiss of death. Um,
Yep, you don't ruin the Baltimore loses by like 15. Wow.
and
Wow.
of course, all bias aside, what you got on Bucks Lions?
Wow.
Oh,
You go with the heart. Certain times you got to go with the heart. Chase wins it for the Bucks. We win by 3. The Lions, it's been a great run, but no one's putting respect on that Bucks name. So I think it's going to be a close game. If you told me the Lions were to eke it out by 3, I'd have no problem with it. But I just have this feeling there's just something about this Bucks team that just one more game. There's one more game in them.
you really want to channel that guest appearance by YouTube sensation Brian the Beer Snob in our Super Bowl preview, Bills versus Bucks.
I'm telling you, man, if it goes down like that, I may be flying to the Super Bowl, standing outside with my baker's hat on, just living life. I just got to dude. We just got to make it. Make it to the game, but it's too far ahead. But I don't know, man. Like I said, there's fandom, and I think sometimes it's okay to let that feel you in. It's gonna be a great game, but I don't know. If the Lions win this game, then I'll go on record saying here that I think they're going to the Super Bowl. Then they are the team of destiny.
Yeah.
I feel they're the team of destiny. But there's another man of destiny. And the Baker man.
Number 6.
The Baker man, he's a man of destiny. So there you go, folks.
Bucks McGee 1 round down, 1 more round kicking off momentarily, less than 24 hours from where we're talking right now. And what are you looking forward to most in divisional weekend, sir? Take us off there.
Well, folks, this is the Elite 8. This is the best of the best right here. Like I said before and earlier, you may not think the teams are that great, but they made it. So we've got some youth, got some CJ. The rivalry that really isn't a rivalry, and Bills and Chiefs, and the Baker man. So take your pick. We will see you soon. Nutmeg, can't wait to see what happens.